Hello and welcome to the 0% Club, a podcast where we watch and review 0% rated movies on Rotten Tomatoes so that you don't have to. I'm your host, Evan James, and as always, I am joined by two other members of our Awful Movie Fan Club. Hello, Chris.
Good evening.
Hello, Tom.
Hi.
In this episode 4 of the 0% Club, we watch the movie Transylmania. When a group of college kids do a semester abroad in a Romanian castle, they quickly realize that if the partying doesn't kill them, the vampires just might. This R-rated comedy was released in 2009 and has a runtime of 1 hour and 32 minutes. A tight 90.
Oh, it's our favorite on the ZPC.
Just give me 90 minutes, I'll watch them all day.
So, gentlemen, did this vampire comedy get some laughs, or did it just plain suck?
I see what you did there.
Not subtle?
No. Torres, what do you got?
I thought there was a couple of parts that actually made me chuckle, but overall, this movie felt like a American Pie rejected joke, one after another. But then when I did a deeper dive, I noticed why. It's because it's a loose sequel, I guess, to other American Pie ripoffs.
It's actually part of a trilogy, mind you, the Dorm Days trilogy, which is why I was a little disappointed that Evan didn't watch the first two movies, Dorm Days and Dorm Days 2.
I'll be honest, I didn't. I found that out while I was researching the film after I'd watched it, and if we had more time, I absolutely would have watched Dorm Days 1 and 2. There's some context about these characters that I feel like I missed out on now.
That's a bad job by you, Evan.
Yeah, I mean...
These characters, which are very paper thin in everything that they want and do, and very obvious, and have no brain cells at all. I needed to know their background story.
You know who's in the first two Dorm Days films? Topanga from Boy Meets World.
Oh, I saw that she was in the first. I didn't see that she made the second. That's amazing.
She made the second and then read the script and said, "You know what? 2 is enough for me."
Skip that on Transylmania.
This had a few laughs. I'll agree with Torres. It sucked, but it had a couple of cheap pops, if you will. If you didn't tell me what year the movie was made based off of the jokes, you're like, yeah, mid to late 2000s. There's some dated stuff in there for sure, but yeah, it wasn't. It was very shallow, like you said.
Yeah, the fact that it actually made a theatrical release, but Dorm Days 2 didn't, is a surprise. Did they think they hit gold here?
Well, they thought they had a hit when they made it and financed it, but this movie ended up being the worst ever performing film that was released in over 1,000 theaters, and it had a gross of $408,000.
Yeah, that was. It played in over 1,000 theaters in the U.S. with an average per screen of $262 per screen.
But Chris, can you take us through the plot of this movie?
The movie starts with Rusty talking to his online girlfriend who lives in Romania. He tells her how he convinced his friends to do a semester in Romania and introduces all of them. The first two are Pete and Wang. They are shown trying to find ways to smuggle weed out of the country. Then we meet Pete's girlfriend Leah, who is a good girl, and her twin sister Danny, who likes to party. There is also Numar and Lynn, who are a couple. Then there's Brady and Mike, who are geeks. And last we meet Cliff, who is on the run for selling counterfeit blow-up dolls. We get a quick cartoon showing the group's trip to Romania. On the train, Brady reads the backstory of the college and tells the story how the school was a castle for vampires led by Radu, the same actor as Rusty. Radu loves Stefania. They both terrorize the countryside. A vampire hunter, Van Sloan, shows up to the castle to take Stefania's soul in a music box. In attempted escape, Van Sloan falls out of a window to his death, and the music box floats down a creek. Back on the train to the castle, Numar buys the music box from someone selling souvenirs after a worker of Nadu drops it in the basket. At the university, we meet Dean Floka and a professor on how to kill vampires, Theodora Von Sloan. Radu shows up to the castle to find the music box and release Stephanie. But Lynn pricks her finger and drips of blood into the music box, and the soul of Stefania enters Lynn. Rusty meets his online girlfriend, who he finds out is a hunchback and the daughter of the dean. He is threatened with torture if he ever stands up the dean's daughter. Some of the students find out that Dean Flacco is kidnapping students and using their body parts to give his daughter a normal body. While discovering this, they see Aaliyah's head that can still talk. They take the head of Leah before Flacco returns. While this is happening, Rusty and Radu are being mistaken for each other because they look and dress exactly alike. Rusty is mistakenly taken to a ceremony to revive Stefania and is told that he has to rip out the heart of Lynn. When he shuts the music box, Lynn goes back to her normal self. But Lynn believes she's being abducted by aliens, so she fights off Rusty. Numar notices that Rusty and Lynn are together. Numar is jealous and starts to fight with Rusty. Rusty is fed up with them, so he goes back to the school to hide. Teradora finds Rusty and confronts him because she thinks that he's Radu. Then Radu shows up and everyone is confused on who is who. Campus security shows up to the dance and they detain Teodora. Cliff shows up after he was pretending to be a vampire killer to get with women and accidentally shoots the crossbow into Radu, killing him. Theodore breaks the music box and Lynn is freed from the curse. To end the movie, we get a flash forward where Cliff explains how all his friends are doing after the events. Rusty and his girlfriend are shown with their little baby, and then we get a smash cut to black, and the movie is over. That's Transylmania.
There you go.
Truly masterpiece of film.
A lot of depth in this one.
So this movie opened up with a line that I absolutely loved. Just, "Dear sexy Draguda." I think that really paced the film for us. Yeah, the opening scene where they go through the montage of all the characters. And we see the two characters smuggling drugs by literally filling up condoms and sticking them up their butts.
Yeah.
That's the kind of film we're dealing with here.
And every character is a cliche of like your teenage like comedy, you know, from that era. Like everyone's on brand for who they're supposed to be. But you know what this movie reminded me of immediately? And it actually depressed me when I looked up how long ago it came out. It reminded me of like a vampire version of Eurotrip.
Yeah.
It's literally the premise of Eurotrip, but they go to Romania instead of touring the rest of Europe.
Yeah, it's a movie just like that. It's basically American Pie, Euro Trip, that whole whatever they were doing during that time. Except it's like 10 years after that was hot.
Right. Eurotrip came out in 2004 also, which made me really sad, and I felt my age when I saw that release date. But yeah, it's Vampire Eurotrip.
Yeah, the movie that it made me think of was the film Road Trip, which is just basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Just raunchy comedy, and it felt like this movie wasn't good, but I kind of gave it a pass because I felt like this could just be one of those films. It's outdated. It's got heavy, like homophobic, misogynistic, like themes to it. Like real sketchy characters doing real sketchy things that now you go, oh God, this is awful. But all those films kind of have that. This one a little bit more than most.
Yeah.
There is a reoccurring joke in this movie that I enjoyed the first couple times. The idea that they're paying for everything with blue jeans, and they're in the strip club, literally putting blue jeans in a stripper's waistband. They're buying like a motorcycle with it. Just this ongoing joke that it's like, oh, how much denim does it cost? And like right at the moment where I'm like, all right, you've done this a little bit too much, they finally stop.
Yeah, I was wondering, Tom, did you look up how much value the blue jeans have?
I didn't look up the cost of blue jeans in Romania in 2009. I can't give you that.
I can tell you that based on the movie, two blue jeans equals one motorcycle, and 2 blue jeans is also the price to hunt a human being.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So if 2 blue jeans is one motorcycle, and they gave in the strip club, they gave the dancer 1 pair of blue jeans. That is one heck of a tip.
Yeah, quite the tip.
You're telling me that that when they wrote this masterpiece that they didn't put blue jeans on a scale. Hey, you know, if I'm like buying a motorcycle, it's 2 blue jeans, but like if I'm getting, you know, like a drink, it's like I just rip off a little piece of denim and hand the cashier like, you know, a little patch. Like they didn't try to convert it.
No, it's whole jean or nothing.
All or nothing in Romania for this one.
Yeah.
The first, like you said, the first 5 minutes really just lets you know what you're in for, of like just surface level, you know, jokes. you got the two guys smuggling weed. You got the main character slams his laptop on his, on his what.
Yeah.
Getting clearly catfished by his girlfriend that he's going to find out later she has a hunchback.
Always get a full body picture. That's what he says.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's stupid, Rusty. Always get a full body picture. Oh, there's some amazing quotes in this movie. On the train, the innocent girl, you guys are trying to get me addicted to drugs, when they offer her weed.
Yeah. I also like the scene where Newmar is asking for sex advice from Rusty right after Rusty said, I'm finally going to have sex with a real person.
That was one of my favorite lines in the whole movie. He hands him the Codex Eroticon. He goes, a classic, written like 1,000 years ago, makes the Kama Sutra look like Martha Stewart's prison notes.
Martha Stewart's prison notes.
What do you also think about when Rusty meets with his girlfriend and then the dad is just on their first date with them, just sharpening knives and just watching them date?
He brings him to his torture chamber.
He's seen this dance before, Torres. She's had boyfriends clearly, and he knows what the end result is.
Yeah, I guess that's possible.
You want to hop in my Iron Maiden? It's fully working. I keep off my torture tchotchkes in working condition. One of my other favorite quotes in the movie.
They bring it up at one point, and he just kind of shrugs it off. But I just couldn't help the whole time go, why? Okay, he's going to sever this body into bits and then decapitate a person, but then put them all back together to build her new body, but he can't take off the hunchback on her back? He can't just somehow remove that? He can't. He needs a whole new body, bit by bit.
He's the best plastic surgeon in the entire world. He did all of that with one thread.
But that was one of the scenes that made me laugh, is when she shows up to the dance and they rip her arm off. I don't know why. Yeah. That was pretty funny.
The whole dance scene when they bring the head in and they're doing the his arms behind and that whole dance was kind of funny. Like, it was a basic joke, but it hit. It they got what they were looking for. It wasn't as cringeworthy as some of their other jokes. It wasn't offensive like half the film.
This is also the first movie we're reviewing that has nudity.
There was a lot of nudity in this film.
No.
I closed my eyes during that part.
Same.
All those parts, I closed my eyes. I didn't see him.
Same.
Poor innocent Tom.
Yeah, I can't see that. Yeah, no, it is the first one though, so it's
it was really random and unnecessary though. Like
all of it, yeah. The whole movie was random and unnecessary. So of course the nudity in it, just the 3 vampire women. Follow me. Okay.
Yeah, the movie looks like it was made for TV in 1998 with the lighting. It was like some of the worst lighting for a movie that's made it to the movie theaters. Yeah,
that's kind of the surprising part when I started researching this, was that it was so widely released and the film looks like it was made by college students.
Yeah.
Like it's not well produced.
And it's not well edited either, because it feels like it will cut in the middle of a scene while characters are talking, and then it will jump to a middle of a scene while characters are already in the middle of talking, and I'm like, what kind of editing is that? Like,
this is like, I don't know, it's kind of, he's maybe not as bad as our boy from Jaws: The Revenge, but Rusty, incredibly selfish person. You're convincing all your buddies to go to Romania, and then none of the friends that they look at this castle, and all of them are just like, we're gonna stay. They don't these friends, you're not gonna just leave.
Yeah, he convinces all of them to come just for his catfish girlfriend, just so he can have an excuse. He convinces like 8 people too. Like, he didn't just convince his best friend, he convinced like all of them.
Yeah,
all
the
of them
whole
have
crew.
Nothing better to do than go to Romania.
As selfish as he is, though, I don't have him down as the worst character in this movie.
Who do you have?
Who's the worst character?
Yep, I have Pete also.
Pete is the worst character in this movie.
Pete is by far the worst.
Pete cheating on his girlfriend with her twin sister, and then finds out that she's been decapitated and is a living head, and still decides to tell her, "Hey, I'm cheating on you with your twin sister."
Well, you should tell her right now.
Yeah, we should tell it right now. What's she gonna do about it?
He's victim blaming her the whole time.
Yeah, he's blaming her the whole time. He's also like, they have a one moment where they have to like keep watch, and then he just starts making out. Like he's got one thing on his mind the entire film, and it's just hooking up with his girlfriend or his girlfriend's sister.
But then also that reminded me of the detached head. That whole thing is obviously ridiculous. But then like when you first see her as a detached head, and then she sees her body for the first time and realizes her head's not attached to her body, she is very calm. She doesn't react at all.
She acts groggy, like she just woke up. She's just like, oh, okay. Like,
Well, that's unfortunate. How am I going to get out of this one? You can't get out of this one. You're just ahead.
No, you just sew her back on. It'll be fine.
They don't though, right? She's just. They said like in the outro they were saying she's still alive somehow.
Oh yeah, she's at the very end. She's now performing magic with where she's doing like the decapitated head guillotine trick. Yeah.
The best magic show in Las Vegas. No one knows how they do it.
Or jealous.
But when the dean broke it down, he said that the decapitated head could only live for 48 hours. So they just broke their own rules.
That's why they put in the end there, the narration was, she's still alive. We don't know how. And you're just like, okay, she's still alive.
We forgot to write around this, so she's just somehow still alive.
Yeah. My biggest problem is whenever they did a stupid joke, they would overly do the stupid joke every time. Like the farting horses or that throw up scene. Like, you gotta cut it. If you cut it in half, it's still bad. But the fact that they went on, like, you know.
The farting horse scene was literally just such potty humor. Like, it was just so unnecessary and dumb. It was just, oh, okay, we need a joke to break up this page because they're just riding to school. Yeah. So let's have the horses fart in their faces.
This is like, we're swerving here, but this quote is amazing to me. It goes, I need you to apprehend a young Asian male accompanied by a severed head, and don't listen to anything the head says. It's a liar.
To all the security guards.
That's the dean talking to the security guards.
One of my favorites is when Rusty is yelling at them and he's leaving at the cafeteria. He goes, think about that the next time you're spanking your pud.
It feels like it should have been made in 1998. Like, these jokes do not hit in 2009.
It had to be a slow year in the movie theaters, in the box office, for this one to hit 1,000 screens. I don't know how that's possible.
Well, lines like, she can't get enough of me. We have sex at least twice a day. Those aren't hard-hitting jokes for you?
I liked the puns when after they when they see that she has the hunchback. Did you hump her?
Oh my god, yeah, they started
doing it.
Yeah, of course.
Hunchback puns.
I had a hunch there was going to be something about her.
So
that didn't
bad.
move the needle for you, Evan? That didn't move the needle for you?
No, not quite.
This movie could have been a 10-minute...
a 10-minute movie.
This movie could have been a 10-minute college student project, yeah.
That scene when they're pulling the thread out of the body the first time they meet it, that goes on for like 7.5 minutes. Like, it could have been cut to like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it felt like you could probably cut Cliff completely from the movie.
He
just shows up at the end to kill the villain, and that's it.
You didn't like him selling sex dolls to Japanese businessmen and then appearing way later in the movie?
Yeah, the very obvious callback. This guy's going to show up later.
Yeah, they're like, Cliff, we don't know where Cliff is.
Shoots himself in the leg.
Yeah, I did genuinely enjoy the shooting himself in the leg scene. That was one of the few moments where I went, okay, this actually.
Yeah, that was a good scene. He's trying to like get up and he's pulling himself and he's stuck. That was funny.
The drugged either Radu or Rusty shows up, and it was Rusty. Yeah, stabs him in the other leg with it.
That was probably the funniest part of the movie. Then he shows up at the dance and his legs are fine.
Yeah, his legs are fine. He stabbed himself multiple times to stop everyone knows that when you're bleeding, to stop the bleeding, you just stab yourself into the hole again.
Yeah.
And the bleeding will stop. Everyone knows that.
He was clearly fine later. That was actually one of the few actors I recognize.
Cliff?
James
Oh,
DeBello.
that guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did recognize him.
Yeah, I didn't really recognize anybody. Like, this was all
Yeah.
new cast to me. The Dorms Days cast.
Yeah, it's surprising that it was the third of a trilogy, and it makes sense why they never talked about it and why this movie did so absolutely poorly at the box office. But there is some controversy surrounding this film.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently,
Here we go.
early they obtained $22 million in financing after they completed the film, and the producers were sued for fraud and breach of contract. According to the suit, producers Scott and David Hillenbrand perpetrated a fraudulent scheme to obtain the financing, failed to repay the money, and used much of it for personal expenses. Now, obviously, they're fighting that, and they claim that's not the case, and I don't have any information of how that lawsuit is currently going. But I think that's an incredible detail that this film grossed $408,000, and yet they obtained $22 million after the movie was released. And so they're arguing that the financiers saw the cut of the film and still paid that money.
I find that hard to believe.
I thought I read this. Didn't they like claim that they didn't see the movie and just put the money up for these guys?
Yeah, so that's the one side is arguing that they didn't see it and they gave them the money, I think based on probably their previous films. And they're arguing that they provided them a final cut of the film, then they financed the film.
I mean, how do your defense is, how do you not, you're about to put up 22 mil and you don't watch what you're investing in? You almost deserve to lose that money.
I wonder if a lot of the budget went to the fact that they actually shot this in Romania at a castle instead of just a set.
Right? Like, what costs so much money in this film?
The trip to Romania, getting the cast and crew there, and renting a castle. That's it.
Money not well spent.
Money not well spent in a film that was widely hated. So let's
Oh,
move into
man.
some critic
Yeah.
reviews of this film. I got a quote here from Brian Orndorff of BrianOrndorff.com. I surveyed the crowd at the screening I attended, feeling the chill in the air as 7 strangers sat in stone-cold silence. Not a single laugh from anyone. The 8th moviegoer, fast asleep 5 minutes in. I've never envied a person more.
I got Robert Abel of the Los Angeles Times wrote that, quote, if your idea of a good time is laughing with repulsion at a humpbacked Romanian nympho with a torture-loving midget dad or tittering every time a bong appears, a darkened theater awaits you.
I got Jeffrey Anderson. This has no artistic or social value, and it contains no genuine laughs. I disagree, because there was that one laugh with Cliff shooting himself in the leg. But overall, I agree with everything else he said.
Yeah. Drew Toll of Time Out. David and Scott Hillenbrand's stoner horror comedy predictably proves more groans than laughs. The filmmaker had better pray someone in the theater is holding, if you know what we mean. Yeah, Drew, I think we know what you mean.
We
I
do.
think we get it.
We do.
I don't think you have to be subtle about this movie.
I got one from Daniel Barnes, a rancidly unfunny yet pointlessly complex comedy with Ed Gein level humor, rampant misogyny, and homophobia, and a cast of 34-year-old college kids.
Every actor in this movie looked so old for college students.
I had a letterbox review from Oss. It says, when will my sense of humor return from the war? I don't even know what it means.
What?
Does that mean he liked it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Some more user reviews. Adam Yu said, I'm all for a movie that shows tits, but it was pretty stupid. 3 stars. Adam Yu, he's just here for the nudity.
Richard L. said, one of those movies when you need a laugh. I disagree.
Robert I. said, sometimes I watch movies that make me wish I did drugs. This one is such picture.
I saw that one. I love that line. Transylmania has to be one of the most unfunniest comedies I've ever seen. I could actually feel my brain cells dying while watching it. Brody M. Half a star.
This one by Tim P. doesn't make any sense, so this is why I wrote this one down. I watched this movie to give Netflix what I like and don't like to watch. This is a movie I will never watch again. By the way, I hate the movie poster.
I don't know what that means either.
Why would you watch an hour and a half movie just to tell Netflix I don't like this?
just to set your algorithm. You could just start it and then hit down arrow. I don't think you have to watch it to rate it.
Tim P doesn't realize you don't have to finish the whole movie.
Auntie Q. Not sure how many times I laughed. Lost count between 0 and 1. The second half of the star from boobies. 1 star. So they wanted to give it half a star, but gave the other half because they saw tits.
I guess. But guys, let's put our cards on the table here. Tom, does this movie deserve its 0%?
See, I've been going back and forth with this for a while now, and I'm going to say it doesn't deserve its 0%. It was just stupid enough to be kind of funny, and it didn't feel like it was torture watching the whole thing. So I'm going to say, I mean, it is pretty close to 0%, but I'm not giving it a 0.
Evan?
I am going to say it does not deserve its 0%. Based solely on the fact that it actually made me chuckle a few times. And not in a just, this is so bad kind of way. There was at least like 1 or 2 jokes. The denim joke at least got a little bit of a chuckle out of me. The arrow in the leg bit got like a little bit of a chuckle out of me. Other than that, it's terrible. It's mildly offensive at times. But it's
overtly
really
offensive at times. Also.
Yeah, overtly offensive at times. It's just a bad comedy, and I don't want to give it a 0. I don't think it's a 0% movie. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. The fact that I actually laughed when I thought I wouldn't, probably give it 5%. It was overall a terrible movie. There was not a scene that looked good. The lighting, the editing, they obviously were punting. But they did have a couple of good jokes, and I don't think it was the worst. So, I'll give it 5%.
The audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, any guesses if you didn't see it?
I think I saw on Metacritic this got like a 7.8 from the audience, so I'm going to guess this is like 60.
Oh, I'll take a guess.
Like this, I think audiences like this more than critics by a significant amount.
I'll say 33%.
Torres is closer. It's 21%.
Oof. Rotten Tomatoes, hard critics. I don't know why Metacritic gave it such a good. I was looking for quotes. I saw that. So they gave it a 7.8.
Out of 100 or out of 10?
Out of 10.
That's wild. Do you think this is the most amount of time any group of people outside of that lawsuit have talked about Transylmania?
Yes. I think the people who left the movie theater and complained about it talked about as long as we have, and that was literally it. And then the lawsuit. So where does this movie rank for you guys compared to the other 3 films we've watched? I think, personally, I have it going Jaws. Mm-hmm. And then I think this might be better than Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2. But I'm kind of torn.
See, I'm kind of torn too, but Jaws is obviously the best one we've watched so far. So I think we could all agree on that. And then I have SBBG2 because I think I got more of those laughs and just how ridiculous that movie is compared to this one. I felt like that one got me to laugh a few more times. And then I put this one at 3, and then Nutcracker is still reigns supreme as the worst one we've watched.
Yeah, unlike Nutcracker, this at least had some entertainment value within it.
We got to come to a consensus, though.
Yeah, I'm down with rating Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2 above it, strictly for the opening scene in East Berlin. That was better than anything in this film.
Well, in my rankings, I had it from worst to quote-unquote best. I have Nutcracker 3D, Transylmania coming in at 2, Super Baby Geniuses 2, and then Jaws the Revenge.
Perfect. And we're adding Pete to worst characters list?
Pete, worst characters list. I think he's after John Voight, though.
That's tough because I really hated Rusty, but if majority rules,
Yeah.
we'll give it to Pete. I get why Pete's a scumbag, but there's like
Rusty's
I don't
also
know.
a pretty big scumbag.
Isn't there like a little more charm, kind of maybe to Pete than to like everyone knows a Pete, right? Like the party dude, like hey, let's just get wasted, man. Who cares about anything? Not that that's a redeeming guy, but I don't know. Rusty, what did he bring to the table?
He brought them all to
And
Romania.
that's kind of how I feel about Pete. Which is the worst part about him is he brought everyone to Romania.
That's enough for me to put him on the list.
I think the victim blaming when your girlfriend just got her head cut off was what put me over the top.
From Pete, yeah.
Okay, we'll go with Pete. We'll go with Pete.
And then continuing to hook up with his severed girlfriend's decapitated girlfriend's twin sister throughout all this while they're hunting vampires.
Behind her non-existent back.
Yeah, that's Pete for me. No. That does it for this episode of the 0% Club. If you want to see more of our content, make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ZPCPod. Next episode, we review the 2014 movie Left Behind. Nicolas Cage stars in this movie, where a group of survivors are left behind after millions of people suddenly vanish and the world is plunged into chaos and destruction. Make sure to like, follow, and rate each episode. Did we deserve 0%? Leave a comment and let us know. As always, thank you for listening.